Okay, let's talk about file paths because file path is something that you'll need to know going forward into your advanced computer career or advanced computer academics. So it doesn't matter if you're doing A plus or web design, whatever it is in computers, you're gonna need to understand file paths if you're gonna want to become advanced. So where does this file path thing come from? What is it? What is it about? So let's check out the definition just really quickly. So there's actually two understandings there. There's something called a file path, and then there's something called a folder path. Both of them are pretty much the same thing. They're both constructed in the same manner. There's pretty much no difference, but let's look at the definitions here. So I'm going to pull this up. Okay, so a file path. Basically, a file path is a path of folders to a single file. All right, so I mean, if we kind of delve a little bit deeper, it's a path of parent and child folders to reach a single file. Okay, and a file path is also known as the address of a single file on a hard drive or on a storage device. So actually, let me type that. Maybe I should put that in there. It's a path. So it's like multiple definitions, but at the same time, they're kind of like the same. So a file path is a path of folders to a single file. More specifically, it is a path of parent and child folders to a single file. Okay, and furthermore, it is an address. So a file path is known as an address to a single file. So how do I reach that file? What's the address of that file on the hard drive? Okay, so very important. And you see this file path here. I can immediately show you. If I come right here, right now I'm in Word. Let me see if I can pull this over here. I'm in Word here. If I go to File and I go to Open, let's check out what we have here. So if you look here, these are some of my most recent files that I opened up. And if you look at the bottom of the file name, this is the file name, Edis Media Banner. Below here is the folder path. And you can see when I'm resting on this file, you can see the file path right there. C colon users, no LV, documents, and so on. So it's telling me where I can find this file outside of Word. This is important. Stuff like this is important. In this case, this is important because guess what? What if I wanted to delete this file? What if I didn't want this file anymore? I can't delete the file from Word. I have to go outside of Word and search on my hard drive to find the file and then delete the file. And the only way that I'm going to find the file is by looking at this file path or even the folder path that they have here. That'll help too. So based upon this, let's just quickly go back and we'll return here. Let's just read the folder path. So the folder path is pretty much, it's very similar. It's not really much different with the exception of it doesn't lead to a file. It just leads to another folder. So a folder path is a path of folders to a single folder. And we can, get more detailed about it. It's actually a path of parent and child folders. Oops. to a single folder. So if we look down below, and by the way, let's just make it clear, it's an address to a single folder. Okay, and if we look down below, we can see the folder path here. All right, and the ultimate end of that folder path is the documents folder. So this is showing us how do we reach the documents folder. Well, in order to reach the documents folder, we have to go through the users folder, we have to go through the student folder, and then finally inside of the student folder is the documents folder. So we have the folder path here, we have the file path here. Okay, so and this is just a quick example of why this is so useful. If I go here again and go to open and go to the recent files, okay, if I go to the recent files here, we see firstly under the file name, we have the folder path. All right, which is good enough. We can find this file based upon this folder path. I can tell you based upon the folder path, if I need to go outside of Word, I would open up my file explorer and let's take a look at this folder path. Let me minimize it a little bit. Whoops. Which one? This one here. All right, so based upon this folder path, if I go to the documents folder, and I want you to take a look at these breadcrumbs, which also are a folder path. The folder path is gonna build as I'm going through the folders. So documents, and the next folder is business, and the next folder is Edis LLC, and the next folder is Edis Media address. All right, and here we can see the Edis Media banner, which is, so now if I wanted to delete this file, I would go here and just delete it. All right, and that's one of the reasons, well, probably the main reason why file path is so important, because you need to find your files on your hard drive if you want to delete them, if you want to move them somewhere, if you want to do something with that file. You can't do those things in Word. Maybe you could find a hack, but you certainly can't delete the file in Word. There's no way to do that. You can't delete the file from inside of Word. All right, so just to summarize, a file path, and we're not finished. I want to show you something else, but just to summarize what we just talked about, a file path is a path of folders to a single file. So if I come back here, let me go to open, and let's go back to this file again. All right, I'm going to rest my mouse here, and right beneath it, you see the full file path below here. So you can see the file path. This is the full file path. Of course, the file path is composed of the folder path. They're like one and the same. All right, just the file path shows the file name at the end. So this is the folder path, and this is the file path. They're one and the same, except the file path shows the file at the end. All right, and like I said, we need to know that so we can locate certain files. Some of you guys, I know, oh, Mr. Franklin, I forgot where I saved my file. And Mr. Franklin says, okay, let's go to open, or let's go to your recent files and let's look under the file name, and you can immediately see where it is. Another reason why you need to know this is because sometimes you need to upload things to Google Classroom. You can't do that through Microsoft Word. Okay, you cannot do that through Microsoft Word. You have to do that through Google Classroom. But a lot of times I hear some people say, well, Mr. Franklin, I forgot where I put it. You go back to Word and you look up the folder path, and this is going to tell you where to find the file, so that you go back to Google Classroom, click Add or Create, click File, click Browse, And then remembering the folder path or the file path, you should be able to browse the folders, the parent and child folders, to get to the file that you want to upload. All right, so whoops, sorry. So many reasons why the file path is so important, and that's just introduction stuff. That's basic stuff. All right, moving forward in your career, you're gonna need to know that. You're gonna need to just understand it. It's not something that's a proficiency thing. It's not even that difficult to really understand once you just really think about it. Just take some time and just think about it. All right, so where did the file path come from? Let's just dive into that a little bit and then we'll just end it there. So I'm gonna go to the start button, and you know what? Let me right click on the start button and let me just go to run. And let me type in CMD. All right. So here we have the command line prompt, which was the original way that computers were first created. The way that you see computers now with all the glitter and the graphics and the colors and the wondrous things, it wasn't like that. You know, all of these icons and pictures. Look at this nice folder icon. It wasn't like that. It was actually like this. Okay, computer users had to use the command line prompt to navigate the hard drive on the computer. So right now you see this file path. This is where I'm at. These are all the files inside of this folder. Uh, okay, haven't been on this in a while. All right, but if you look here, you can see the file path. Currently, this folder path, actually, sorry, this folder path is telling me that I'm in a folder called NoOV, and NoOV is inside of a folder called users. Earlier, I did a directory command which shows me what's inside of NoLV. So I can see the documents folder is inside of NoLV. So let's go ahead and go into the documents folder. All right, so now my folder path is showing me that I'm in documents. Let me check what's inside of documents. A bunch of stuff. Okay, here's the TD dispute that I was telling you guys about earlier on in the class that I had to write up in Microsoft Word and convert it to a PDF. Let me see if I can open it. TD Paint. No, I can't open that one. Wait. No, this is a folder. So you see how difficult it can be kind of managing your hard drive like this, but this is the original way that it was. This is how it's built. Okay, using these file paths and going through your hard drive in this manner, knowing your file path. You had to know these things. All right. So now, luckily, Windows came along. We don't really need to know all of this stuff. However, if you do go into a really high levels of computers, such as Cisco or server server architecture, even some web design. I've had to do it a number of times in web design, dealing with Node web servers. You would have to potentially become adapted with this because they haven't built what's called graphic GUIs, graphic user interfaces for those servers or for those devices. They haven't built those yet, so you would have to use this method to configure the server or to configure a router or to configure a switch. Okay, so that's higher level stuff. Right now we're keeping it simple, we're keeping it easy. All right. And we don't really need to know this right now, but you definitely need to know it exists. You can